So we recently bought a Ford Sickle mower. I think it's a 501 series, and you can fold this thing down and mow outside of where the tractor drives, which is very, very, very cool. And these things are actually becoming rather difficult to find. They're just, they're older. All of them are pretty well used, and there's probably a lot of wear and stuff that happens in these things. So we're going to try to minimize as much wear as possible on this thing, because I'm going to do some greasing on this thing today, and I figured I'd flip the camera on and take you guys along for the ride. So I'll probably grease the overrunning clutch here. So there's two grease zerks there. There is one there. There's another one right there. There is three of them. There's one here, another one there, and this one here. So what's that? Just for the attachment alone, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's also one right in here. 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. I think 6 total. As nope, 7. And then there's also one right here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 grease zerks on this thing, because there's obviously a lot of moving parts. And I greased this thing yesterday, and since there's so many moving parts, this thing uses up an astronomical amount of grease versus everything else, because this whole thing is spinning real quick, and so is this. Brush hogs would use a decent amount of grease, but this thing having 7 grease zerks, 7 or 8, it uses a lot of grease, and you really have to keep these things greased from what I've read. So I've got the pneumatic grease gun out, and we'll do some greasing on this. We'll probably start with the PTO shaft and go from there. I need to get some paper towels. So we ran this thing probably, I don't know, 3 hours, 4 hours yesterday. And I don't know how often you're supposed to grease this thing. But it's just one of those things, I guess. Maintenance, maintenance, maintenance.
This grease gun that I'm using is a Harbor Freight grease gun with a brand new hose on it. Well, pretty new. We got it whenever we got the grease gun. But anyways, it's like a 36-inch hose, I think, and it's really, really handy to have. I think next time whenever I buy another hose for this, I will probably buy, they also had a 48-inch long one, and that is really nice because you can just keep the gun right by your side and just take the hose wherever you need to all the different grease fittings. And I really like this grease gun. It's just a single shot one, so every trigger pull it's a single shot, semi-automatic. And then we also have a continuous flow grease gun, which is fully automatic, so as long as you keep pulling the trigger, grease will keep coming out. And I found out with the continuous flow one, it does not generate as much pressure as this one does, and I kind of need a lot of pressure sometimes to grease these grease zerks on whatever it may be. And it'd be nice if Harbor Freight, both grease guns came from Harbor Freight. It'd be nice if Harbor Freight offered another continuous flow one with a higher PSI. That would be pretty nice. And I do go around and wipe off all the dirt and stuff that is on the grease zerks, because obviously I don't wipe it off whenever I'm done, so I don't get any dirt and stuff inside of these bearings and stuff.
So I'm hoping you guys can see this a little better. There's one here. There's one here. There's one here. And then also, there's this one here. And this one that I'm wiping off now, I was not able to see any grease that came out of this yesterday whenever I greased it. And I put like, I don't know, 50 or 40 or 50 pumps of grease into this zert right here, and it still didn't ooze out anywhere like it usually would. So either this thing was really dry, or I guess nobody believed in greasing it. I don't really know. Alright, that one's greased.
So I'm wondering if some of these cavities that are in this thing that hold the grease, I'm wondering if they're not capped, and that is why the grease isn't coming out anywhere. I really don't know. If anyone has any ideas or any thoughts on where this grease is going, or that knows anything about these Ford Sickle mowers, post your comments below, because I would love to learn some more stuff about this thing. It's a neat old piece of equipment or attachment, and I just want to, I know there should be plenty of grease in it, but I'd like to know where it's all going, especially this zert, this grease zert here, because I've put, I think between this video and yesterday's, at the time whenever I was filming this, I probably put over 100 pumps of grease into this one zert here, and it's got to be going somewhere. I really don't know. But I'm wondering if somehow the cavity inside is open and it's just letting the grease flow wherever it wants, and I'm never going to get grease to come out of this thing. So just post your comments below what you guys think. But I would like to know that I'm greasing this thing enough, because this piece here should use quite a bit of grease, because this is spinning pretty much all the time.
See what I mean? This thing just keeps taking the grease, I guess. It's not coming out anywhere, so I don't really know. I don't really know why. There's no grease coming out of this thing. I mean, you'd think it would come out somewhere, right? That's probably good enough. So that's pretty much it as far as I know to grease this thing. This is the second time I've done this, actually. So I think, so we did the 2 grease zerts, one at each end of the PTO. We did this other grease zert right there. We did this one right in here. And then we did these 3. One there, there, and there. And I think that's pretty much it for greasing this thing. If anyone knows of any more grease zerts, and post them in the comment below. I noticed, hopefully you guys can see that, we got some play in this arm here, so I might have to fix that. do something about that. I might pull this cap off and see what's in there. But this thing, it works really, really good, and I am very pleased that we have it. It seems to be well worth the $200 that we spent on it. I know it's not the prettiest thing. It's not going to win any beauty contest, but you know what? It'll mow what we want. So I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. So I found another grease zerd on this thing, the harder I looked. Here, this cap here, the grease zerd had vibrated out of the cap, and this was just an open hole in here. So I cleaned this out as best as I can, but there's two bearings. They look like trailer bearings in here. And I'm sure that's what a lot of these other moving parts have in them also. There's also a seal on the back, 2 bearings. I had to add in a second washer. And remember me in the video moving this thing back and forth? Well, it was loose, and I put in a second washer, tightened up the nut again, and now we're just going to put some grease on this thing, hopefully.
There is also a cotter key that goes in here, and I was sure to replace that. So there's also just the cotter key, and then I threaded in the grease zerd. I probably should Loctite that grease zerd at some point.
That should be plenty for that. But I did have to fill up this entire cap, and you know, it's really, when you buy a used piece of equipment, I've said this before, and I'll say it in this video again, or this video to start with. Always check everything. Check the bolts. Check stuff like this. If something doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. And it really doesn't hurt to check anything, or check everything on it. You know, wheel bolts and stuff, and check for play. Like, oh, even this. Even that has some play in it. But it's a used piece of equipment, and I am still thrilled we got this thing. So there you go. Always check stuff, because you never know when, you know, a hole and stuff like this will let in water and dirt and all sorts of bad things into this arm, or I guess it'd be an arm, whatever you call it, a pitman arm. And you really don't want that, because who knows how much this piece would be to buy, when the PTO shaft, half of it was $120, and we bought the entire implement for $200.